Ladies and gents, hello and welcome to ROG Pulse, the weekly show where we dive into all things tech and gaming. My name is Jake Kalinsky. I'm joined here by Whitson Gordon. And Whitson, it is December already?
Yeah, it's been a while. Did we even have Pulse in November together? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a crazy year. The last few months have not been normal for us.
Flown by.
Flown by, well, Taiwan and trips and the holiday
Thanksgiving.
seasons. We're in the midst
It's
of
cold
them
now.
already.
I'm wearing my ROG sweatshirt that I got in Taiwan.
I don't want to hear it. I think I saw 19 degrees on the forecast for where I live next week. So
when I said cold, I meant like 57.
No post November. Oh my God, that's excellent.
That's not our goal. We want more Pulse. It was just
admittedly, if there's a time for Pulse to like be a little bit slower, that's the time to do it because a lot of our big hardware stuff is kind of
you had a big episode of Pulse. You built your machine. I just wasn't here for it.
That's true. Yeah, last week we built my new PC, which I'm
how's she doing?
Stupid impressed with this beast. I haven't named him or her yet. Usually my machine's gonna name like day one, but it's not complete. The 4090 is not here yet. The 4090 is going to be the final touch, and then slotting in the rest of the CableMod's cables, and ultimately I'm actually going to replace the PSU. So this machine is super impressive. The 13900 KF CPU is like
beast,
blowing my mind. And if you haven't seen it, you'll have to tune into another stream because the camera's not pointing at it right now. But these Leon Lee Infinity fans are beautiful. But I haven't messed around with the color profile too much yet. I haven't played around in Armory Create too much yet to really just kind of figure out what I want it to look like. Because again, I'm waiting on the 4090.
You got to wait for everything to get
Yeah,
in.
I got to wait.
I did the same. I finally got into Aura Creator this week. I've got like a very custom lighting profile going on. I'm pretty excited. I'm actually going to be posting a bunch of pictures of my setup now that it's like finished for a while in the Discord today. So guys, if you're not in our Discord,
check it out.
Join our Discord. Exclamation point Discord in chat.
A little bit on the itinerary. We're going to go through some quick gaming news. We're going to unbox the Batman edition ROG phone.
That box is sick.
It's so Batman. I love it. You really can't expect anything less from ROG when it comes to the packaging. Yep. So we're going to unbox that phone, see what that's all about. Yes, of course we're reading the chat. And we're going to overclock a tough 4090 that. So and you have a 4090. The streamer doesn't have a 4090. God.
I actually have two 4090s. You can't see it, but there's one on my shelf back there.
Yeah.
It's not a real 4090, but it's there.
It lacks a GPU die, but
it lacks the actual die.
Yeah.
But it is a big hunk of metal. All right. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
So the first thing that I think like the biggest tech news of the week for me personally, just watching everything, was AMD Ryzen 7000 mega price drops already. If you are looking at building a new system, it is a tough choice between AMD and Intel right now with these new prices. So the 7600X is at like $250 thereabouts on Newegg, and the 7950X is like $575 or ish. So I think those may be fluctuating by $1 or $2, but that is nuts. That makes it extremely competitive with what Intel just put out, and we've got a good head-to-head going, boys.
Yeah, you love to hear it. This is the actually getting to be a little bit more financially viable to build these PCs. With some of these price drops, build a PC, the build a PC sales I've been seeing across Black Friday. I say build a PC because that subreddit is like my favorite place to look at sales.
I love it.
There have just been a lot of good opportunities. I could have saved some money if I waited like 2 weeks on some of the things I bought. Like
it's hard to wait till Black Friday.
I know.
Well, and so here's the thing. You usually don't see big cuts on brand new products during Black Friday. This was a little bit special. I don't know if we all saw this coming that quickly, but it is very, very exciting because you now have a choice between two really great processor families. And like you said, the more time goes on, just the more affordable and the more value you're going to see in these because, the AM4 platform is still around. You still got great chips like the 5800X3D. But when you look at kind of the I hate this word, but future-proofness of the AM5 platform. Yes, it costs a little bit more, but you have an upgrade path there, right? Because they're going to be supporting that platform for a few years. So you could upgrade your CPU. You've got DDR5 memory, which is already showing performance improvements over DDR4. It is, I mean, it's a tough call all around, but the value is definitely there if you want to go with one of the new chipsets.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, price drops, pretty hype. What else is going on in the tech world? Anything else relevant?
Gran Turismo is potentially coming to PC.
Yeah, the devs basically said we're considering it. I think they're, it's a classic console PlayStation title.
It is,
namely, and
that's like PS1 era, like going back that far. Yeah,
it is, and I think they're seeing God of War and Spider-Man and these other games, these other Sony, main platform titles like doing really well, and they're just being like, yeah,
I just bought God of War a second time on PC.
Dude, yeah, I'm about to play another Spider-Man playthrough because I've got that Marvel itch. Been playing a lot of Marvel Snap still. Just a great game to just play on the couch,
Well, if you got that Marvel itch, there's also that Marvel Midnight Suns news.
Great segue. And the game's having some really good reviews. My friend Arano, he's in chat right now, just keeps like saying, I can't wait to play it. I want to play it. I want to play it. I've never played an XCOM game, but I think I'd like them. And part of why I never played XCOM is because like the whole like real life military theme isn't really a theme I'm into. It's not like Call of Duty games don't appeal to me as much as like a fantasy shooter appeals to me, right? Yeah. So thematically, Marvel
XCOM was a little fantasy shooter. It was aliens.
Oh really? Okay, I didn't actually know that. That shows how much I know about XCOM. So that would actually appeal to me more than I thought. But so
just from what I remember, it's aliens.
You're probably right. I just never got into it. But yeah, so yeah, I think that game could be a lot of fun. So we'll look to do something with that in the future.
Yeah. And the last one was I'm very bad with these names. Takaya Iemura.
Yep, the art director, the creator of like what Star Fox is and looks like, the identity of Star Fox, the identity of F-Zero. I mean, he's a long time like OG Nintendo artist who's starting his own indie company. He left Nintendo last year. And he's got his own new product coming out, and I think he had a new manga just come out too.
Oh, that's cool.
Called like Omega 6, I think. I don't know a lot about the manga, but it's one of those things where like those are like my two favorite games in terms of identity from classic Nintendo games.
Yeah,
because they're fast, the music's really like iconic, like they're just fun, fluid gameplay.
I wonder, do we know what type of game it's going to be? Because I think there are a lot of people that would love a modern F-Zero to play. Like, it's been a while since we got an F-Zero game.
So F-Zero's
or anything, it's really unique, right?
Yeah, so F-Zero's got a really interesting history because it was never a top-selling game, but it has a really strong fandom, right? But in terms of Nintendo IPs, it's actually like probably one of their worst-selling IPs. They released an F-Zero game for the GameCube, I believe it was, and that was actually made by Sega. They kind of said like,
I remember that.
We're not necessarily like super confident, but you guys make games that are fast, so we're gonna have Sega like literally you guys make games where you run
gotta
fast.
Go fast,
like so we're gonna have you make F-Zero, and that game was hard. Like that game was really hard. Give me F-Zero VR so I can vomit everywhere, and I think we're good. Yeah, that's what we need.
That's an idea. Well, I'm curious to see what comes out of that, because I would be really interesting to see another really, really fast racer like that. I don't think we have like even anything that's similar to F-Zero.
No, we don't.
I know there have been a few like kind of indie spiritual successors and stuff, but nothing like kind of on the level.
I'd be way more interested in his new Star Fox myself, but anyways, he's making something brand new, something that's independent from all this, and we'll see what that is. So, but I think that's the main gaming news. I mean, obviously there's other things like Dragonflight came out this week. A lot of people are into it. You
having fun with it?
I had some fun with it, but like I'm hard to hook. Like, I played the new class and it's really different. It's really interesting. They have like a charge. You played WoW back in the day, right?
I
They
did.
now have like a charge and release mechanic. So like one of the spells that Evoker is a new class. One of the spells is like a charge. It's a big cone, and you can re-angle it while it's charging. And there's basically 3 different tiers of power. So if you release it earlier, it's like rank 1. You release it like after 2 seconds, it's rank 2, and after 3 seconds, it's rank 3. And it does more damage sequentially based on that.
That's an interesting mechanic.
It is. But like it functions a little bit differently. So like one of the class is like it's a dragon. You can only be a dragon to be this class, and you're like a mage or like a healer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the spells that are channeled, you can use an ability called hover so that you can be moving while channeling the spell. And it feels really good. But for some reason, you can't do that with that spell. So it ends up feeling kind of clunky to me. Anyways, it's really cool. It's really different. It feels like the classic WoW formula trying to be brought to the modern day. So because they brought back talent trees and stuff. Someone in chat,
I didn't even know those were gone.
Yeah, they've been gone for ages.
Last time I played WoW, there were still talent trees.
Yeah, they massively simplified it to like you have I think, let's say there's 8 different like levels. In each level you choose one of 3 options. That's kind of how it works.
Okay.
Now there's actually talent trees, and talent trees, when you hit a certain junction point, you choose between like 1 or 2 things. I don't know if it's actually like better or worse than what the more modernized thing is, but it aesthetically looks kind of cool in terms of like picking your style, but who knows? I haven't delved deep enough into it to really have a strong opinion. Anyways, I think I'll be sticking to classic personally, but it's still fun, and I did buy it, so I will get to max level and enjoy the leveling experience. And the story does have me interested. I'm a big lore nerd for Warcraft stuff, so I'm intrigued by
Warcraft
the
has
story.
always had interesting lore.
Yeah, agreed.
Should we unbox a Batman phone?
Let's do it. Okay.
Show me.
So we've got wrong.
That ain't right.
There we go. We've got the new ROG phone Batman edition right here, and it comes in this fancy, I guess you call it a briefcase almost. It's like it is made of styrofoam, so it's nice and
Cool.
and padded. There's 2 little levers you lift up here, and I assume that's how you open it.
It's literally from Batman's gear chest.
Oh, there's a piece of cardboard.
Honeycrab says this should be called the Bat phone. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the Bat.
should
Quick, to the Bat phone.
Should I wear this?
Is that a belt? Yes.
The Batman Championship belt. Okay. Oop. All right, so right away
Wow,
you get
it's
the
right
phone.
there. Cool. It's a much easier unboxing experience than the Diablo one.
That one defeated me. You can see the visuals on it.
Dude.
It's got, the Batman
clean.
signal. It's all like gunmetal gray, like very. It's not black, but it's kind of like what you'd expect the accent colors to be on Batman's outfit. I don't know a lot about Batman lore. Is that W like Wayne Enterprises logo or something? Is that I'm not sure what that is.
I'm a Marvel guy. I can't.
Yeah, I am too. Like
So I really like though what they did with the finish on it. So it's not glossy like the other ROG phones. It's got this really cool matte finish like Batman's armor. That's badass.
It does feel like Batman would
One
be
might
using
say
this
it's
phone.
bat ass.
Oh no, I love it. Over here, there's Batman's face on this packaging, which has your case included inside. So it does come with a Batman case. We're not even going to take it out right now, though. We're making this a very quick unboxing. And where's the pin? Must be somewhere else.
It's in the case.
Oh,
What's
it's
in
right
the case?
here. So when you're going to remove your SIM card, you get a Batarang SIM
Oh.
card remover, which is so cool. Like,
Can I buy that separately? I
I know.
just want that.
I feel like this is one of the best parts of the whole thing. It's just like such a cool little thing. Obviously, your ROG phone charger. You get an actual bat signal that is USB. You plug this in.
Oh my
It projects
gosh.
a bat signal. I mean, I have to do it, right? I can't like
Yeah.
skip out.
You know what
on
would have been really
showing-
cool is if they had put the bat signal on the Aeroactive cooler so you could just, while you're gaming, just shine it around in people's eyes. That's probably why they didn't do it.
No, they should still do it. So it's just USB-C.
And then what you really need is you need a cell phone clip. You know those cell phone belt clips? You need one that you can put on the front of your belt, and then it's like you got the bat signal on your belt at all times.
Let's see if I can rotate my case.
Oh, did we lose Jake's audio?
I hope not.
Okay, no.
That's
I could just
kind
see you doing things that seemed like they were supposed to make noise, and they weren't making any noise.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So obviously you want to be a little bit further away. But,
Yeah.
It
That's
doesn't
so
want to show up on the screen behind me. But yeah, you get a bat signal. I know a lot of people that would just kill for these extra pieces.
I mean, my son would have that shining on the ceiling of his room 24/7. For sure. There you go. Cool. Yeah, just put it right there, shining back for the rest of the stream. There you go.
The cable's tension is like not wanting to agree with it. Cool.
There you go.
Well, that's the ROG Phone 6 Batman Edition, which I saw.
That's for sale now, isn't it?
We actually had some sales on it. Yeah, like $100 off, I think, on the actual Asus store.
Yeah, that's up on the Asus store right now. Here, I can pop a link in. Or this is not the US site. I mean, we are a global channel, so you'll have to go to your individual site. But here is the US site. $11.99. And yeah, it's in stock. Looks like. Look at that. You can buy the Batman phone right now.
Let me drop that in YouTube chat.
Dude, that looks so cool.
Yeah, super sick.
It's got like those tinges of like purple too, which is All right. Should we start digging into this 4090?
The main event of the day. Yeah, let's do it.
The main event.
So this is actually going to be our first time properly doing anything related to a 4090. And there it is, the tough 4090 with those I like those CableMod cables you chose. I like them a lot.
Yeah, so I've actually used CableMod cables for years. But I got a new power supply for this card, and I needed a new set of cables. And I had to choose. Now they have two types of cables, which they did not have when I first bought it, as far as I remember. So you got two choices. You've got Mod Flex and Mod Mesh. Mod Flex is the kind of cable that I used to have. It is a more kind of traditional braided cable. Looks like this. It's very flexible. You can move them all around very easily, etc. They're very easy to work with. But when you have them in your system, it's a little bit more work to kind of get the cable combs in place and keep it looking real clean. These new Mod Mesh cables have a more kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not rigid, because they're not rigid, but it's got just like a firmer coating on them. It's not just like regular fabric. It's a little bit more like almost like plasticky, not quite, but it keeps their shape really, really, really well, so that when you finish installing them, they look super, super clean. They have built-in cable combs that you can move up and down the cables. I really like both. Honestly, it's really tough to choose between them. Like the Mod Flex are a little bit easier to work with and a little bit more natural feeling, but the Mod Mesh looks so clean when they're in. And they sell both, so you can kind of pick between them depending on the kind of build you're doing and what you think it's going to end up looking like. We've got their 16-pin cable here, which is cool. It's got this little metal piece to make sure that you aren't bending it too much. They are coming out with a 90-degree adapter for that as well, so that if you have a smaller case and with something like a 4090 and the 16-pin adapter, like you can't quite close the side panel or you just want a really clean look, that 90-degree adapter will be coming out hopefully soon, so you can set up something like that as well. Yeah, so I chose the blue because I've got a very blue themed build here, but you can also choose from a number of different other colors, or they have a cable configurator where you can literally choose the color of like each individual wire.
That's cool.
If you have like a more unique color scheme. I've never used the cable configurator myself because I just love blue, so I just buy the blue. But I've heard that it's a good experience and that it works well. So yeah, you got definitely some options. And the nice thing is about some of these big sets too is that they come with you can get the set that comes with both a 16-pin to 4x8 pin or 3x8 pin, as well as a 16-pin to 16-pin. So if you aren't upgrading your power supply just yet, you get a 16-pin cable that will work with your current power supply and a 16-pin cable that will work with your next power supply, provided you're using the same brand. So they've really thought everything out. with a lot of the new cable kits they're coming out with, and I am super stoked.
Yeah, even those adapters you're talking about for the 16 prong adapters, there's 4 different types. One that works with every different manufacturer pretty much. So
because depending on the orientation of the 16-pin socket on your card, they have 2 different adapters, and then they also have a 180 adapter that'll go like bloop bloop bloop, both either up or down if you want it to just.
It makes those sounds too. It's great.
It sadly does not, but yeah, they've got a lot of stuff going on right now. So go over and check them out. I believe it's just CableMod.com. CableMod.com. That's the website. And if you're looking for something for a new card, you want that 12 VH power adapter for sure. So this is the Tough 4090. This is a really fascinating card. Not only is it just the most powerful beast of a card I have ever laid eyes on, and not only is the Tough card really, really well built, it is just all metal, really, really rigid and strong. I love what they did with the build of this card, but it's got a massive cooler on it, so you have a lot of potential to play with it, play with the performance a little bit, and kind of tweak it to your own specifications. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. So I've got GPU Tweak 3 here. This is our GPU tweaking software, as the name suggests. Today, the title of this video aside, we're not actually going to be overclocking and undervolting in the most traditional senses of those words. Historically, when you overclock a CPU or a GPU or undervolt it, you're basically taking the stock voltage and clock speed, because there is a graph that says at this voltage or whatever, run it at this clock speed. And when you're overclocking, you would say at the same voltage, don't run it at this clock, run it at this clock. You're kind of tightening that tolerance between the voltage and the clock speed. And that tolerance is going to be a little bit different for every card, which is why they're not maxed out of the box. And then you stress test it to that introduces some instability if you take it too far. And so you got to do a lot of stress testing to try and figure out that perfect balance. The thing is that these days, these cards and CPUs for that matter, we talked about this in our Ryzen overclocking stream, these chips have such advanced boosting algorithms built in that the card kind of does a lot of that work for you just based on its own parameters. So it'll say, at this voltage, go for this clock, but push the clock speed as high as you can go within this temperature limit, this power limit, and this voltage limit. So if you're in a really cool area and your temperature's low, your card might be able to boost a little bit farther. Things like that. And with GPU Tweak, we can play with, instead of pushing the clock and adjusting it with the voltage, you can do that. Or we could take a much quicker and easier route and just raise those limits on the built-in boosting algorithm and say, I want my power limit to be higher. I want my voltage limit to be higher. I want my temperature limit to be higher. And just let it naturally boost as high as it can go. And similarly, with undervolting, instead of tightening that tolerance, we can just say, limit my power to this and see where that gets me. So if you are an overclocking enthusiast, you can still come here and you can boost the GPU clock however you want. You can boost the memory clock and you can do a lot of stress testing. But we aren't going to do that today. We are going to do the quickest and easiest thing that everyone who owns this card should play with. Okay? So we're starting with a bone stock configuration here. We are in the performance BIOS of this card, and we are going to run a Cyberpunk benchmark. I have maxed this out. This is going to look a little bit weird because I'm running it at 4K, even though I'm on a 1440p ultra wide monitor. So it's stretched. I'm only going to be showing kind of the corner of the benchmark, so ignore that. But we're running it at 4K, and we're running it at max settings with ray tracing turned off for right now. This card is so powerful that it's sometimes hard to avoid a CPU bottleneck, even at high resolutions. So when I did this testing this week, I got some results that I have already written down, and I can kind of tell you about those. The results right now might be a little bit different because I am doing a lot of screen capture and things like that. So things may be a little bit different right now because my CPU is working a little bit harder. And in fact, this is a little choppy on screen right now, but I can assure you it's pretty smooth.
I mean, regardless, your CPU is going to be the bottleneck for a 4090 unless you have a brand new CPU, which you don't. But yes.
So at 4K, that's only sometimes true. Like if you're streaming at the same time, like I am, then, but at 4K, when I wasn't running any of this stuff, my CPU was not the bottleneck. Because the goal, when you're overclocking and testing, you don't want the CPU to be a bottleneck because then you're not going to get anything out of overclocking. So that's why I'm running at 4K, even though I don't have a 4K monitor. You could run it at 8K. You can turn ray tracing on, but this should, I'm going to basically show you guys what to look for and tell you that the results that I got without all of this screen capture going on, and we'll kind of see what happens. So apologies that it may not be perfect.
How dare you?
But we're streaming, so sometimes it happens. So this is a stock configuration. You can see we're kind of in the 60s and 70s. Our average FPS is 64. When I was testing this without everything, it was like 10 frames per second higher. My average was more like 78 frames per second.
Okay.
And my minimum was around 21. So that's like your stock performance. Once you do that, you can go into GPU tweak and hopefully it'll show up. There we go. The easy version of this is to just take this power slider all the way to the end.
Max it.
And take this voltage slider and all the way to the end. Hit apply. Now our card is overclocked. Again, you can push it a little bit higher if you want to push the boost clock and the memory clock and do a lot of stress testing. But this is not going to introduce a bunch of instability because it's just using the card's built-in boosting algorithm, but it's going to push beyond what the card does out of the box.
Got a good question from chat. It says, how do you figure out where your bottleneck is?
That's a great question. So a very easy way to tell most of the time is if you have something like GPU tweak open and you have either the on-screen display running or you have it open on a second monitor. If your GPU is not running at 99%, then there's a good chance your CPU bottlenecked. That's kind of how I usually tell. If your GPU is only running at like 50%, then your settings are either too low, and you're like VSync capped or whatever, or your CPU bottlenecked.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
And if you see that your CPU is maxed out, then that's like
that's not always the best indicator because if you have a CPU with a ton of cores and you're playing a game that doesn't necessarily make use of every single core, your CPU isn't going to be at 100%. So you might be CPU bottlenecked and your CPU is only showing like 30, 40, 50% or whatever. And you might think, oh, that's not bottlenecked. It's not 100. But it might be using 100% of the CPU that the game engine is like allowing it to use, right? So I basically pay attention to that GPU usage graph. If it's at 99%, your GPU bound. If it's not at 99%, your CPU bound, unless there's some sort of other limiter like you're using VSync or you have a frame rate limiter or something like that.
Okay.
Is usually how I look at things. Now, again, there may be other edge cases and things like that, but that's a good place to start. You can also ask around in like our Discord and stuff and tell people the hardware you have and be like, is there generally a bottleneck with these two pieces of hardware? And a lot of people can kind of let you know what's common for that.
Yeah, just drop the Discord link in chat, guys. Join on up.
All right, so here are our results. The average FPS is pretty similar, but what you will see, and this is what I saw before, is that the minimum FPS jumped up
a lot from 21 to 38.84. That's a big change.
Yeah. So I'm not calculating the percentages here, but the percentages I found in my previous testing, the minimums boosted by like 12%. So that means your average FPS is going to be similar, but you're going to get fewer stutters, fewer hitches, things like that. When there's a big spike in necessity, that's pretty cool. And if you're playing at something like 8K, where you're like really there's just no CPU involvement at all, you might see that max FPS go up too, and things like that. So it's gonna vary from game to game, and it's gonna vary a lot depending on the resolution you're playing at. Whether you're playing with ray tracing. So when I tested Cyberpunk, this same benchmark with ray tracing on, the boost was a little bit smaller. Actually, it was more like a 9% boost in those minimums. Just because of, I think that's just because of the way that the power usage is interacting with those RT cores and tensor cores and things like that. So, okay. So a 12% boost in minimums for literally 5 seconds of work is not bad. I will take that, please. And again, you can boost that a little bit farther if you want. What I think is arguably even more interesting is if we were to downclock this card. Downclock? Why would I want less performance? I can already hear so many of you saying. The 4090 is such a crazy efficient card. And I know a lot of people like don't think of it that way because it's such a high powered card. But when you look at like the frames per watt that you get when you turn this down, it is kind of nuts. So let's just like take this power target. You could turn it down to 90. You could turn it down to 80. You could turn it down to 50 or 40, and then you'd get like 3090 level performance with like 200 watts. It's crazy. Let's turn it down to 70 for this example. 70%. And let's run another benchmark. Someone's at my door.
I love how fluid Cyberpunk benchmark is, because some benchmarks take a while to start.
It is a quick one.
Yeah.
I do like that. I was trying to find a game that would just tax that GPU as much as humanly possible, because it's hard when you don't have, because I'm running on 5800X, so it's a great CPU, but it's not the most current and highest power CPU. And when you're talking 4090, when you're trying to like overclock and test and keep it GPU bound, you really want to avoid those CPU bottlenecks, and it can get hard in some cases. And luckily this game was able to run at 4K despite the fact that my monitor is 1440p. I don't know why it lets me do that, but it is, so perfect. So we turned it down to 70% of its stock wattage. Okay, that's 30% less power, but we are not going to see 30% less performance. I mean, look, we're still in the 60s here. Maybe it's dropping down below 60 a little bit, but compared to what we were seeing before, which was like mid 60s average, right? That's pretty insane. Yeah. So because now we're running this card at like, it's taken 315 watts, over 100 watts less than it does at stock. Okay, for what is appearing to be a very small decrease in performance. Now, you can do this actually with any card. This isn't specific to the 4090. I do this with my 3060 Ti back there to keep temperatures a little bit lower and noise a little bit lower, because that's a mini ITX machine in a really enclosed space, and that works great. What's so interesting about the 4090 is that it's so efficient that if I were to drop that 3060 Ti KO edition down to like 70-75%, I would see probably a 10% performance decrease. In this case, you can see our mins are back down, but our average FPS
is like the same as the first test.
Yeah, so this again may be a result of like all this window capture and stuff. When I did my testing this week, it was a 4% decrease for 100 watts in power savings.
That's insane. Yeah.
If you want to keep your power bill down, I don't care, because I'm on solar panels. Crank it up all the way. Or if you want to keep noise levels down, not actually an issue for me on this tough card, to be completely honest with you. Even when we were running it overclocked, this thing was like 65 degrees. Oh, yeah. Actually, it got up to like 60. And the thing is like silent, okay? Yeah. Even running this thing at 500 watts, the fans barely spin up. This card blows my mind. Even if you're just a silence nut, here you go. This is why we built this incredible cooler with this vapor chamber on this card, because even if you're in performance mode, even if you're overclocking the snot out of the card, you are not going to have very much fan noise. Mm-hmm. Okay. But if you care about power efficiency, if you have it in a more enclosed space and you're getting a little bit of fan noise from higher temperatures, you can clock this down by like 30% and barely see a decrease in performance. Now, when I tested it with ray tracing, the decrease was a little bit bigger. It was a little bit closer to like 8 or 9% when I tested it. But again, you can kind of test it, tweak it, try it with the games that you play, because they're all going to kind of behave a little bit differently. And you can really take this monster of a card and tweak it to exactly your specifications, which is really, really cool. And that's what I love about PC gaming, right?
You have more control in your destiny.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I know a lot of people have been like, well, why is the card 450 watts if it's like almost the same performance at 70? And it's like, well, because you want room. You want room to push it to the max if you want. Like, this is the beauty of PC gaming, right? We are such a diverse group of people, and we all have different preferences. And like, I think Nvidia actually hit a really good middle ground between like giving you a little bit room to overclock, giving you a little bit room to undervolt if you care about efficiency, and most people are going to be extremely happy with the out-of-the-box performance. So
right. That's
you're
gonna be
kind
me.
of pleasing everyone and giving everyone the opportunity. I mean, you're probably gonna overclock it. I'm
Well,
probably gonna undervolt it.
I'm
And
gonna
here we go. We
yeah.
got two happy PC gamers.
I'm
Actually,
gonna max out those two lines, right? Just boop boop. Give me the max
Yeah.
power. There's and that
If you've got the power supply to handle it, I got solar panels on my roof. Kick it into high gear. Let's do this, baby.
I don't know if I'm gonna do that with 1,000 watt, but once I get a bigger PSU and like and
is this going to be the first time in history that I overclock the card and you undervolt the card?
Dude, a 13900 KF and a Strix 4090. I don't know if 1,000 watts going to be enough. With all, have you seen how much RGB is in this case?
It's not the RGB. It's the fact that you, because you're streaming, are always pegging the processor a lot more than most people. Because like I'm running 1,000 watts and I'm fine with this 4090 and a 5800X, but the 5800X isn't the highest end processor in its lineup, and it's not the newest. And I do stream occasionally, but I don't stream with the kind of stuff that you have going on, and that's where you want a little bit more of that extra headroom. That RGB, I mean, the RGB does take up a little power, but it's not gonna hold a candle to what your CPU and GPU are doing. So that's it, guys. Like, it's that simple. I thought about doing like this really involved guide and like tweaking the boost clock and the memory clock and doing all the stress testing, but like, man, as someone who has overclocked like every CPU and GPU that I've had since I started building computers like 12 years ago, it's just so easy to just crank up the sliders and say, you know what, I got 90% of the way there. I don't have to do all this stress testing. I don't have to worry about instability. If you're an enthusiast, you can still do that. And sometimes I do like to play around, but man, these days we make it so easy with GPU tweak, and NVIDIA and AMD and Intel have made it so easy for us with their boosting algorithms and some of the tools that they've built in.
Yeah.
Most people, this is so much more accessible to the vast majority of people. If you're an enthusiast, go crazy. Even if you're not, just crank those up and call it a day.
Or crank them down and save some power.
Or crank them down, save some power.
And that's honestly,
choose your own adventure.
That's a really compelling thing. If we're talking about like taking 100 watts down for 4% drop in performance, that's going to be negligible for a lot of people.
In like one of the worst cases.
Yeah, like honestly, like for a lot of people, especially if you're not doing 4K gaming, you probably don't need that full power, right? These 4090s are the first generation of cards that truly can do high refresh rate 4K gaming. Somebody in chat even said, Asus, please give me a 240 hertz 4K gaming monitor. If somebody said that a year ago, I'd be like, why do you want that monitor? You can't achieve that performance in any game. Now that there's a reality that people actually want that display, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw those displays exist in the near future. I certainly hope they do, because I would love 240 4K. He asked for a 27-inch. I want 32. I'm actually back on a 32-inch panel.
If you're 4K, go 32.
Dude, I'm team 32 now. I really am. I'm back on my 32.
I told you 32 was the perfect size.
I'm doing a lot less competitive gaming. I think 27-inch is better if you're like playing FPS. If you're competing, I think 27 is better. But I'm doing a lot less of that nowadays. So it's like I'm enjoying my 32-inch. But
Here's the other thing.
Well, before
you may want to undervolt it if you're in a situation where, like you said, if your monitor doesn't go high enough for you to reap the benefits, right? If you're playing like an esports title, like my monitor goes up to 165 hertz. If I'm playing Red Dead Redemption, let's push the card to its max so I can make use of the most frames. But if I'm playing like Overwatch or something, pushing it to the max is going to get me a little less latency and stuff. Or I could push it down to 70, still max out the refresh rate of my monitor, right? Easily, and have some power savings. And the other thing to consider is that if you are in that situation where your CPU bottlenecked or your monitor bottlenecked with the 4090, it's still a great card because it's going to last you so freaking long. You can spend your first 2 years with this card undervolted, and then the next 2 years at stock, and then the next 2 years after that overclocked when you need a little bit more to like make the most out of the most recent games. This card is gonna last a long time for a lot of people, and it will do it without making any noise.
Yeah, that's the dream. Guys, we are doing a giveaway through Marbles on stream. So in order to enter, you need to type !play in Twitch chat. This does not work with YouTube. It only connects to Twitch. So you need to go to twitch.tv/AsusROG and type !play if you want to enter for your chance to win one of two $20 vouchers to gamesplanet.com. This will be first and last place winning $20 vouchers today. We'll give you guys like 2 minutes or so to migrate from YouTube if you are watching there. Twitch.tv/AsusROG. I'll even drop a link.
Wow, how nice of you to just drop them a link like that. Also, guys, once again, join our Discord if you haven't already. There's always cool stuff happening there. We have more giveaways happening in Discord. Whenever there are giveaways happening in the company, we try to post them in the Discord. We've got cool people to hang out with and game. I saw earlier this month, I think, people were using the voice chat. I think some people were gaming together.
Love it.
I wasn't here for it. I just saw it in the stats after the fact. But yeah, it is a growing community of very cool people who just love to talk about tech. I'm gonna exit Cyberpunk now. I've had this running like all day. So much testing.
Where's the Discord link? Give me a sec. You
type !point Discord in chat. I got it.
You can do that too.
Discord. Boom. There you go. Man, dude. I'm back into God of War, doing my second playthrough after having played it on like the PS4 a while back. Wow, it is nice to play this game on PC and like actually hit 60 frames per second with better graphics than on console. Oof. I'm so excited to play Spider-Man immediately after this.
Man, I'm at this crossroads where I'm potentially going to get my hands on the new ROG OLED, the 42-inch OLED. In which case I can just have like gorgeous 4K OLED gaming in my office and like be done. But in the meantime, I have my old system, which I want to maybe put in a mini RTX and use in my living room, because I've actually been using laptops in my living room to game on, which is fine. But those laptops, I always have to ship them back and stuff, and it's annoying to have to reinstall games and whatnot, right? Those laptops,
nice to have a permanent system.
So I'm debating on doing that. But if I'm gonna have the OLED in here, it's like, do I really need a mini RTX in the other room?
Yes, because you have a 65-inch OLED in the other room.
It is, and I have surround sound in that room too.
Yeah, it's a different. I mean, look, like I have two gaming PCs in the same room here, right? Like it feels a little ridiculous, but it is a very different experience playing at a desk, even if you're playing with a big OLED. You're playing first-person shooters and stuff like that, where you're really taking advantage of the high refresh rate and the kind of up close and personal mouse and keyboard experience. It's very different. Some games you want to kick back on the couch, play with a controller, some surround sound.
I saw that I do have a PS5. I saw that the PS5 Plus monthly game includes Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and I'm just like, well,
oh, nice.
I've been wanting to replay that, and it's the kind of game where I really do want to sit on a couch.
Have you not played the Legendary Edition yet?
Dude, yeah, because I don't want to play it on my PC. I want to like sit on the couch and just relax and play a game like that.
Yeah, so that's how
it's not engaging enough gameplay to like. When I'm at my PC, I want to be like playing something that's really engaging. Otherwise,
it's hard. I found that was a tough game to play on the couch because the combat I really wanted to play with mouse and keyboard because the combat is really engaging. But then the rest of the game, like I want to play with a controller and kick back. But I will say it is worth playing on your OLED because the HDR in that game is very
really
good.
Yeah,
it looks like the mass relays and stuff when they light up and shoot your it is. Whew, they did a really good job updating those games for the modern era. It's still my favorite video game of all time.
All right, we're doing it. First and last place wins. 106 marbles. Enter the race. Good luck. Have fun.
Honeycrab says, "Why don't people like ultrawides for gaming?" I think they do. That's why there are so many of them. I do. It does seem like there are fewer of them than there used to be.
Yes,
they're not as in fashion as they were a couple years ago. So here's the thing. I actually do have an ultra wide, and I love it for gaming. I love it. I mainly have it though because I use this machine for gaming and for work, and so for work, that wider screen is really useful because I can have a lot of open windows at once. If I were just gaming, I would probably go for a 32-inch 16:9 because that feels like a more immersive experience to me. You get a little bit more height. It doesn't feel like you're losing that much on the periphery. So I think a big 16:9 is often better for gaming if you're just gaming. But if you also use productivity stuff, you're doing video editing or whatever, the ultra wide becomes a little bit more compelling in my eyes. But a lot of people like ultra wides for gaming. I think Lane and I have had this discussion. I think he prefers ultra wides to 32 inches for gaming.
HS high score, you've won a $20 voucher. Type in chat to claim your win. Last place is our other contendant. Big finale currently in the back of the pack.
Contestant?
Yeah, you're right.
Contendant.
You're right. Words are hard, man.
This is why we write the articles. And by the way, we have some new articles up, guys. We just did a guide to
the big finale. Did the big finale literally be the big finale? I love that.
That's really funny, actually.
Big finale. Type in chat to claim. So HS high score. Congrats.
Oops, I actually can't do that here.
And the big finale. Congrats, guys. We'll be in touch with your vouchers via private message next week.
Guys, check out a couple of our new articles. We did a guide to how to use manual mode on our laptops, which a lot of people have been asking about. Really cool stuff there. If you want, you want to do like what we're doing today, but on a laptop, really tweaking the performance of the system, you can do some cool stuff in manual mode on our laptops. And we also did a guide to everything you want to tweak when you get a new ROG laptop.
Ooh.
Lane put together this just like massive guide of guides, and it is really cool. So if you got a new laptop for Black Friday, or you're looking to get a new laptop for the holidays, bookmark this guide. Jake, what happened? Oh my gosh!
Apparently, Marbles was present in this.
Marbles ate you.
Yeah, nom. GG's.
Anyway,
GG's.
Yeah, that was completely unrelated to anything else, but it's kind of related to what we were talking about with the 4090. If you want to undervolt your laptop, yeah.
That's true.
Nuts.
That's true. You get the tools to do it.
Yep. That's always the goal, right? Everything should be great out of the box with tools to perfect it for you.
Well, guys, we showed off the Batman phone. We showed off his... Wait, what is this?
This was like lightning round pulse. We got a lot in today.
Oh, my goodness. There's a different setting. All right. You can have the bat signal or Batman.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like his silhouette.
That's terrifying. I'm gonna sneak up behind people at night and just shine that on the wall.
I wish I had a better place to shine this, but I really don't. Wait, what if I show this other camera? There you go.
Oh, that's cool. It's got some bats in the background.
Yeah, pretty neat.
I think the bat signal is the coolest though.
The coolest?
Yeah.
We can swap it.
Yeah, love it.
Fun
what a cool
stuff.
Phone.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Anyways, it's cool. Sometimes those limited edition phones are hard to find. I like that you can actually buy it. You guys can go buy the Batman phone right now.
I don't, probably not for too much longer. I don't know. They're usually pretty limited run, like you said. I don't actually know that to be a fact.
But it's not so limited that it's impossible to get, right?
Right. Well,
that's nice.
Yeah. That's true. Not a lot of. I don't know how many collectors' phones exist too. Right. I feel like it's kind of usually it's a collector's shoes, right, or something like that.
Yeah, Batman shoes to match your Batman phone.
Hell yeah!
Let me tell you, having a Batman
nice.
phone. If anyone who looks at that Batman phone is gonna be like, "Wait a minute, is that a bat phone?" That is a conversation starter right there.
It is easy win.
With nerds. That's how you pick out the other nerds on the street.
Who doesn't like Batman? Even if you're a Marvel fan, you still like Batman.
Oh, the Batman movies I still think are the greatest superhero movies ever made, like the Dark Knight trilogy with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Best superhero movies ever.
Did you see the newest one?
I have not. It's really funny. So my wife, who is not a huge nerd like me, she was like, "Oh, I really want to see the new Batman movie." I was like, "Oh, really? Okay."
It was incredible.
We still haven't watched it.
I loved it. It's long though. It's 3 hours.
That's why we haven't watched it, because
Yeah,
she
it's
really
long.
likes Batman, but she really likes movies to be 2 hours or less. So it's a very difficult.
Yeah, it's like watching
situation.
Return of the King, like extended edition. It's a marathon.
That's the greatest movie ever made, so
Well,
it's worth.
duh. Yeah. I'm glad we agree on that.
Yeah.
Guys, tomorrow we will be playing Darktide, my first ever Warhammer experience, and we'll be Warhammer 40K, which I'm excited for. I've never played anything related to Warhammer, and I'm pretty
pumped.
excited. So we're gonna have co-op Darktide during the stream tomorrow. That'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern, so our normal stream time. And until then, that's gonna do it for us. GG's.
GG's.
See you tomorrow.